If your preference is for one, then might another be considered cheating? Pedal choice is a surprisingly personal thing to the point that it's even more controversial than the fact that e-bikes are not actually bicycles. Tell a clipless pedal rider that physically connecting oneself to the bicycle erases a lot of critical skills, or tell a flat pedal rider that they really aren't taking the sport seriously, and you'll quickly find yourself in an algorithm-satisfying debate. This past winter, I ended up with an excellent A/B comparison of flats versus clips, but before we get to that, let's establish a little context. I'm a lifelong clipless rider, first using clips in 1996. I struggled at BMX races, but once I got clips on my bike, I was able to quickly upgrade from novice to intermediate class. Ever since then, I would ride flat pedals for skate parks and dirt jumps, but clips for most everything else. Until recently, when in 2019, I broke my pelvis for the third time. Not wanting to make any rash decisions, I promised myself I'd make some positive changes to ensure my own safety, as quitting mountain biking is not a realistic option. After that broken pelvis, one of my biggest changes was a promise that I'd switch permanently over to flat pedals. While I did ride practices and winters in flat pedals, I never had nearly the same confidence with flats that I did with clips. In fact, I had broken multiple bones from being bounced off the bike with those flat pedals. Even with the experience of 25 years of riding with clipless pedals, I can still dab a foot and save a crash way more easily with flats than clips. Back to the A/B test of flats versus clips. My favorite example of how clips might be considered cheating is the famous waterfall feature at South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona.
Gotta go the real way.
SoMo is the largest municipal park in the United States. There are probably lots of great mountain bike trails there, but I don't really know because all I really do is go back and forth on this same 40-foot section of trail known as the waterfall. On my new Ripley AF, I wanted to film pedaling up the waterfall. Wouldn't that look cool? This is one of my favorite tech climbs. I've made it quite a few times with clipless pedals and first got up it with the excellent instructions of one Rob Drew. But on the Ripley, I was limited by two factors: the trail bike geometry with a steep 65-degree head angle and a minimal 120 millimeters of travel, but even more held back by the flat pedals. This fall, I've been doing a bunch of longer rides on the bike in lots of cool places. Here in the Northwest, it's a very humid climate, and so this ends up meaning that even when temperatures drop, you're still sweating a ton. I know I am. I don't know about all of you. I've been lucky enough to partner with the guys over at Element. Element makes an all-natural electrolyte supplement, and what I've been doing is mixing one of these packets into my water bottle for each bike ride. Element is a very simple mix. It's just potassium, magnesium, and sodium with a little bit of stevia to make it just a tad more yummy. For a limited time, all of you here can try Element free of charge. They want $5 to cover shipping, but there's a link in the description below. It takes you over to the Element website and you can sign up for your sample pack. I really like the orange, the citrus, the grapefruit, and the watermelon flavors, and I think you'll like these things too. One thing I've been doing on the drive home from really big adventures, I've been putting another one of these packets into my water bottle to sip on the drive home, and I've noticed that I sleep quite a bit better if I've used the Element electrolyte during the day. I don't get those weird cramps in my calf muscles while I'm trying to rest and recover from the day. Big thanks to the guys at Element, and give this stuff a shot. It's pretty good. You see, it's critical to mash through the rock garden at the base of the stunt. Flat pedals trying to mash through that quickly ends when the force needed to pedal over the rocks is more than what you can make on a proper downstroke. 1 hour later, with over 40 attempts in the record books, I finally got up it twice, but it was an absolute struggle.
Come on, little Rock.
3 months later, and I'm back with both my Yeti SB130 and Evil offering. Yes, both bikes have more suspension travel, which helps hugely with this sort of climb. But I fully bike doped and installed clipless on both bikes. This was the first time I'd ridden a regular pedal bike with clips since my broken pelvis. I felt like I was letting myself down a little bit, but on the flip side, I could live with that because my goal wasn't just to climb the silly waterfall. I'll straight up say it. Climbing the waterfall is pretty easy with clipless pedals. My goal was to lap the waterfall twice in a row. And after 4 attempts, I had already done it. So it was basically 10 times easier. And on the 5th attempt, it's gonna be kind of tiring next time I'm here after having done it once. But that's good, right? Oh. Okay, that was fun. I got a really good bad idea. Okay, that's kind of a long track stand. Yes, that's kind of cool. I don't know what to do now. That was sweet. Bike worked pretty good. Like, share, subscribe, something like that. I wish I wasn't out of breath because I'd be a lot cooler. It's so much easier on this bike. This audio is not post-dubbed. This bike was actually easier than the last bike I rode up this. And this is a fantastic bike, but the whole thing is that an enduro bike, long travel, slack angles, is way easier for that kind of shenanigans than like a trail cross-country bike. Also, mega cheater point, these clip-in pedals, holy cow, you can just pedal through all these bumps, forget about smoothness, put the power down, you'll make it up some staircases without even breaking a sweat. Or so they say. I can't believe how much easier it is with those pedals, wow. Normally I ride flat pedals. I do think like the altitude, the 160, 170 bike would have been great on this, but I was working on that Ripley video last time. That's a good bike, the Ripley's fantastic, but 120, 140, short front center, steeper head angle. It was getting bogged down on the first bunch of rocks, then my feet would blow off the pedals and everyone would go, oh, and the pressure would rise. And I almost never did it. This thing was way easier. We've been here like 10 minutes. Climbed it like 4 times. So much easier. I guess I should try it on the other bike now, huh? On the Evil Offering, my very first try up the waterfall got me to the top. I tried a few more times to double lap it, but I didn't quite have the juice in my legs to pull this off again that day. With plans to film with Uncle Kurt Voorhees the next day, I wanted to save some juice, so we moved on to sample some of the actual trails. And once we were back to the van, I pulled those clip pedals off before they would make any babies and infiltrate the rest of my bikes.
Oh, I think you tapped it on the rock and it shifted for you.
So what do you think? Clips sure make these climbs massively easier. My Shimano GR9 shoes look nearly identical to the AM9, so many people think I'm clipped in when I'm not, which gets a little frustrating, but that's totally okay. Since filming all this when the Ibis XE arrived, I again reneged on my personal promise to avoid the clips. I felt the 100mm travel cross-country bike was better suited for clipless, and in hindsight, I don't think it really even mattered that much on that bike. So, do clipless pedals turn a mountain bike into a pair of rollerblades? And do simple flat pedals really have a place in the modern world? What's your take on it? I've really enjoyed riding both, and I think each one plays into an important skill set that'll then benefit the other setup. Still, there is nothing more controversial I'll talk about on this YouTube channel besides flat pedals versus clips. Thank you all for joining me. I have a few links in the description below to the Shimano GR9 shoes that I personally use, along with the AM9 shoes that I don't personally use, but I have in case I do want to personally use them, and the Shimano Saint and XT flat pedals, as well as the XT and XTR clipless pedals that I don't personally use, but keep on hand if I decide to personally use them. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the comments down below.